Hello everybody, and welcome to a bit of an unorthodox video, but one we have been wanting to do for quite some time now. And
yes.
The Bionicle 2015 hype train flow of news has subverted pretty much everything else we've been wanting to do, for good reason. But now that we're in a bit of a lull period in regards to that aspect, we figured now would be a good time to do this.
Exactly.
We are going to be doing a review of the RoosterTeeth production RWBY, a weekly web series, which is currently in its second season, or I guess second volume, and has been running for 4 weeks now. Season 2, Volume 2,
Right.
that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I am joined today by quite the cast of characters. People who also watch RWBY. The only one not here who watches it is Var, but that is okay. So everybody, please introduce yourselves, but first of all, I'm Messneck.
I'm being dragged here because I just got back from work, and then they wanted to do a RWBY coverage.
And you were trying to watch Korra, and we called you.
I was trying to watch!
You can watch
something
Korra.
else.
You can watch Korra. You can go and watch
I will
Korra.
watch Korra. When you're
we
on
have
one of your
nothing.
long tangents, I'm LJ.
I'm Kahi, the one who isn't forced to be here because I legitimately like what I'm talking about.
Stuff it!
I'm Viper and I also want to be here.
And you're staying up incredibly late, so
Exactly.
we got
up all night to
Yes.
the sun.
Shut it.
Like last
Apparently I
night.
have holes in my head like Swiss cheese too. Thanks, LJ.
Swiss cheese is delicious.
It's
Ew,
gross. I
Shots are
hate
being
cheese.
fired like Neptune's gun against the mecha tank on this
Neptune
last.
has a gun.
Yeah, you didn't see that in the last episode? Remember he was shooting at
Oh, I
the-
thought you meant the
the
actual god Neptune, like
Wow,
from
just
No,
above
no,
the sea.
No, like the
Who
Neptune
does
that's
it as a
in-
trident?
MLG deduction, Viper. But no, basically, here's the deal with the RWBY for those that do not know what it is. Kai, I'm gonna let you do this. You're more knowledgeable than me. What is RWBY?
Kahi.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry. Like that for a second. How's it going, everybody?
What is RWBY? Explain to the people that may not know.
Okay, so RWBY is. Okay, I actually got into an argument about this earlier today with some people on Reddit, but screw that. RWBY is an anime. Alright? It's a 3D anime series made by Rooster Teeth's own Monty Ohm. You might recognize the name from the guy who did stuff like Haloid or Dead Fantasy and Red vs. Blue. He did a lot of the Red vs. Blue animated sequences. And he's created this show called RWBY. It's about these four, I guess it's about a group of teenagers that go to academy that teaches them how to be warriors.
Yup. And they fight at a wide array of people and things.
The fighting is one of the biggest draws to RWBY. Yeah, I mean, the whole academy thing is a kind of a common trope, but the fighting is really what makes it unique in the animation style.
A show about a group of teenagers with transforming weaponry that are being trained to be warriors to fight evil.
Yup.
I've never heard of anything like that.
No, it's very original.
I thought you were gonna make a comment about Soul Eater.
That was what I was getting at, Meso!
Yeah. It's
I
not.
was insinuating!
It is by no means the most original concept in the world, nor is it the most well executed. But it is.
It's pretty well executed.
It's okay. Volume 2's been pretty well executed. Volume 1 was a bit all over the place.
All right, I want to talk about that, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yes, where to begin? Well, we've already missed 4 weeks. Volume 2, we're not going to do like an episode by episode thing.
Right.
That'd take way too long. So I
That's a lot of
guess we may do that in the coming weeks. Maybe we won't. I don't know. Maybe we'll do one every 4 weeks. I do not know. But we can at least talk about our thoughts on the series as a whole. And there's a loud car outside.
Oh, that
You're
sounds like
right,
it's
I
going
had
pretty
people-
fast.
It was indeed.
I had people screaming outside my window just a minute ago.
Wow. Okay. So what do you guys think of RWBY in general? Who wants to go first?
I'll let somebody else go
Nobody?
first.
Okay, I'll go first. Basically, I think that because I've been a fan of Red vs. Blue for a pretty long time, not as long as some people here, but a pretty long time. So when RWBY was announced, I had high hopes, and the show turned out being pretty good, and I am a fan, but not for the reasons that were initially believed by me. Because I'll be honest, the trailers were pretty deceptive. You know? You watch the trailers and you think it's going to have a
that's
certain
fair.
tone,
That's fair.
and then you watch the show and it's a completely different tone. So it kind of threw me a little bit, but over time I've grown to like it because I don't watch much anime. So the whole school thing is not as big of a trope to me as it is for some people. But basically, my thoughts on the first volume: it had a lot of potential. It did good in some aspects. It fell hilariously short on others. And the fight scenes were cool. The humor was cool. The story was pretty non-existent. I'll be honest. It was basically an hour and a half of filler, and then the first and the last 2 episodes actually told a story, and the rest was just fluff. But it was enjoyable fluff. But it suffered from having like 4-minute bite-sized chunks of episodes where you couldn't really tell much story. You had to rush things along. That's why this new volume is so much better, because they're on average 15 minutes, I would say. 12, probably.
Yeah. They're 12 minimum. I'd say that they've actually been on an average of 15, to be honest. There's been a lot of...
So, for the first volume, I was a skeptic person, but I was a fan. I did like the series. Second volume, I am a full-blown fan. I think the execution of this has been top-notch, minus a couple errors, like the facial animations, which I don't enjoy too much. But that's me.
What don't you enjoy about the facial animations?
I do not enjoy how this season seems to have a lot of front-facing shots for some reason that the old series did not have, which makes it really, really obvious that when you're looking at them from front view, they don't have noses. And it looks really weird.
It's the style.
I do not like it. The first volume had a lot more side or angled shots to where it wasn't as big of a deal. But this season, they just put you right up in their face. It's very unsettling.
Yeah.
Oh, and then, as LJ pointed out when we were watching the last episode, I think they're having a little bit too much fun with the hair physics. Because it's going all over the place.
It's all generated now, so...
I swear Blake's hair was like floating, like from her shoulder.
Yeah.
So,
It must have a mirror in it.
yeah, that's kind of what I think of the series in general.
Who's next? Anybody else want to share?
I'd want to, but I think I might have to go last.
I'll go next.
Yeah, you
Well,
weren't that big of a fan of it in Volume 1.
no, I didn't really like it in the first one. I couldn't get into it. It kind of bored me a bit. Honestly, there was all the squabbling going on between Weiss and Ruby, and it was annoying the heck out of me. But when the fight scenes were good. I like the look of the characters. I like the character design.
I concur 100%. That's one of the best parts. They have some very creative.
They look different. They all look different, and I like the guns as well. And
the weapon design is one of the big draws to the series, I feel.
I swear, I want a Ruby axe shotgun, scythe shotgun.
It would be great to have.
Actually, I kind of want Yang's shotgun.
The gauntlets, yeah.
Yeah, the gauntlets are pretty great.
They're great.
There's one of the people on Velvet's team that we haven't seen yet, Team Coffee, that has gauntlets similar to Yang.
I kind of like the sound of Team Coffee.
It's okay.
I do too.
But
they were really grasping for the acronym with them, I think.
Oh yeah, KFVY.
Yeah, well, CFVY.
So CF, yeah.
But now the character designs are top notch.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I guess as far as the fight scenes, something I'd like to say about the series as a whole. I like the fight scenes. They're very flashy. The Monty Ohm trademark. Lots of jumping around, defying the laws of reality itself, and doing crazy stuff. But at the same time, sometimes I feel a little disconnected from them because they have no narrative weight. And what I mean by that is no one ever gets hurt. You know? It really struck me in the
Yeah.
Young trailer
okay.
when Yang punched Junior in the face with a shotgun gauntlet and it didn't break skin. And when Penny threw the swords at a bunch of people and cut right into them and nobody got hurt. Or when
Yeah.
Roman Torchwick shot Ruby with his cane and it didn't even like burn her clothes or anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that's
I
modeling.
can see
They
that.
don't feel like
I think that's to do with how much time they have and such.
Well, okay. One big factor is that they don't want to show blood in the series. They don't want to be like an overly violent show. It's meant for a more kind of kid friendly, because Red versus Blue is heavily aimed at like older adults, or not older adults, older teenagers, or even young teenagers, and the fact that it's very kind of joke laden and had a lot of swearing, a lot of stuff like that, and they wanted RWBY to be a bit more something they could show their kids and let them be part
all the
of
monsters get decapitated.
it.
And this show's primary
Yeah,
theme is
they're
like
only animals.
the
They're
theme's
only animals.
primary theme is the faunus and racism. So
Well, I mean, it's kind of like a bit more like Avatar in that regard, I guess. But I do see what you're saying with the fight scenes. The fight scenes, I guess, if you've seen a lot of not necessarily anime, but like martial arts films in general, that's kind of how it plays out. There's a lot of fight scenes, a lot of punching and kicking and all that stuff, and obviously enough, the protagonist cannot get too hurt, else they wouldn't be able to continue on for the rest of the movie. There's some very good examples of people that don't follow it, but for the most part, martial arts movies just follow that. It's all about the beauty in the fight scene itself, as opposed to necessarily the weight it has. It's almost like an explosion, but dance.
I could
That's an
understand
explosion.
that.
It's like choreography.
Right.
Like it's not because they're fighting. It's not there to show like the brutality of how they're attacking. It's the elegance
I
almost.
suppose
Right.
that is true
Fluid.
because with the fight scenes, I could buy into it more in RVB because they're in armor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have aura.
And these people,
So-
yeah, aura is like the excuse, but
Hey, come on. Armor is also an excuse, technically.
eh.
Anything that stops it's kind of an excuse. But
Elder, here's a question because you watch Soul Eater and I do not. How's fighting in that series in comparison?
Good. It's crazy good.
Do people take
Like-
damage visibly?
Of course, there is blood. There is people get like torn open at times. There's like death and physical wounds have a very strong, lasting impact the majority of the time in Soul Eater fights. They're also very well choreographed, especially with the different weaponry that's used. Comparison, a good way of looking at it is like fighting in Call of Duty and then fighting in Halo. In Call of Duty, in the campaign at least, you see your friends and all the other NPCs getting blown to bits. Arms will come off in certain Call of Duty games. In Halo, when you're killed, you basically end up like a rag doll. The Soul Eater is like COD. RWBY is like Halo.
Okay.
Everyone in RWBY is kind of like rag dolls. They just get thrown around and do that signature Monty Ohm backflip, fall on your face.
I love that.
Pose,
I love
like,
that so
right
much.
next to the
That kind
camera.
of like, yeah, they do the backflip. And sometimes you do like 5 backflips and then like turn your face to camera.
It's so funny.
It's great.
So, but no. If you want to see some really good fight scenes with a premise and situation a lot like RWBY, watch Soul Eater. I'm downright convinced inspiration was taken from that.
It probably was.
There's a lot of inspiration taken.
I know
from Soul
Monty
Eater.
gave
Soul
like
Eater
Miles and Carrie anime homework, and I
Right.
bet Soul
I
Eater
forgot
was one
all
of
the
them.
ones he gave them. I heard the interview, but the names just came at me. I kind of forgot all the ones they showed. But Soul Eater was definitely one of them, and it does show.
And like, I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with the fight scenes because I like their choreography, but it's just if they ever try to do a thing to where the fight scene actually has weight and somebody gets hurt or dies, it's gonna feel forced, like they're trying to manipulate the audience. But I guess that's to be expected. That's a little nitpicky. But
I mean,
if I said all
don't
this stuff I
disagree.
enjoyed about RWBY, this review would be boring. So I'm being critical.
So you're just nitpicking the stuff you don't like.
Yes.
All right. All right. Well, I guess Alday's kind of spoken up here, so I'll give my opinions real quick. I've been a fan of RWBY ever since it was first announced. The announcement at the end of Red vs. Blue season 10, I believe. It was at the very end. And I think I saw it before any of you guys because I'm a sponsor on RoosterTeeth.
Yeah.
So I was able to see it beforehand, and I was so hyped up for it. I loved Monty's stuff. I watched Halo, I didn't watch Dead Fantasy. I loved all of that. I loved all the stuff he did in season 8 and season 9, Red vs. Blue. And I think he did a lot of stuff in season 10, but not as much.
I wonder if we
I'm not
mentioned
sure.
RWBY in our coverage of RWBY season 10.
Possibly we might have, honestly. I feel like that's something that we mentioned at the end. We're like, oh, I'm looking forward to this. I know I did.
Okay.
But the thing about the trailers did give off the impression that this was going to be mostly a fight-heavy series. And when it first got released, it wasn't so fight-heavy. There was a lot of dialogue. There was a lot of, kind of this interaction. And they did do a thing where the pacing I felt was a little off, not necessarily in the show itself, but because of the weeks that we had to wait in between episodes.
Yeah.
I recently watched all of season 1 with an audience at RTX. I went to RTX 2014 this year, in case you guys didn't know. And they had a screening of RWBY Volume 1, so I sat down and watched it. If you watch it all in one go, like completely, it's actually pretty well paced. Like, I didn't feel so much like a lot of it was dragging out or there's too much attention given to John. There was a little bit, but not as much as I felt when I had to wait a week for each episode. And that was the main thing where we waited a week and there was like maybe 4 or 5 minutes and then there's another week wait. And it feels drawn out because you're only getting bit by bit by bit.
I suppose that is true.
Altogether, it's pretty well done. Now, second season has remedied this completely.
Yeah, the episodes are like, I wouldn't even say double. They're like triple as long.
Honestly, they feel triple as long. And like the thing with pacing is that you can really manipulate the audience perception of time. Something can be kind of short, but it can feel a lot longer than it was.
Yeah.
Just by what goes on in that period of time. So far, season 2 has been really hitting it on the mark when it comes to the right episode length. I feel like every time I finish an episode, I feel satisfied.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it was kind of a filler episode, I feel like each one is really hitting its stride.
That's what I love about it, because the first season it felt like a lot of stuff happened that could have been condensed.
Right.
And like I loved that the spotlight was given to Jean for 4 episodes because he's one of my favorite characters. But the whole thing was so contrived, a bully storyline.
Right. Okay,
I think it was so cliche.
My main thing with RWBY is that I feel like right now Miles and Carrie are the people that head up the team, and they really want to introduce the character, and they really want to pay a lot of homage to the source material they're drawing from. But I feel like they're not necessarily afraid, but they're sticking a bit too closely with cliches that have happened before. I feel like that they can do something really new with this series. They're able to do stuff nobody has done before because of the way that they're approaching it. It's an American production studio.
Yeah.
Doing online entertainment work. In fact, it's actually very popular to the point where now Warner Brothers Japan has actually doing a dub of the RWBY anime in Japanese. So there will be a Japanese dub and the subtitles and title screens and everything is going to be in Japanese, and it's going to be released in Japan, which I find kind of interesting. I know for a fact there's going to be people who find the Japanese dub first and say, well, the American dub is pretty bad. The voice acting is only okay.
Yep.
They could have gotten some more people for it, and they don't realize it's the other way around. Ironically.
Yeah. That is something I would like to address. The voice acting in RWBY is very, very hit and miss. There are people that are great, and there are people that suck. And
it's
thankfully,
because not everyone on the cast is a voice actor.
I completely understand, but it's very jarring. Not so much this volume. Everyone's gotten a bit better.
Yeah.
My last volume.
I feel like everybody was just trying to hit their stride. A lot of the people that started voice acting not that they didn't know what to do, but they were just starting out with it.
Yeah.
It's definitely more prevalent in the first, like the trailers and some of the first couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Once it gets later on in the season, it
gets better. But
yeah, it gets
at the
better.
same time, I felt like, and this is probably, if I had to pick a problem with RWBY, this is not objective. It's very, very subjective. But I find literally every single one of the secondary characters and their teams more interesting than the primary four. Without a doubt, I would replace Team RWBY with Team Juniper or even Sun's team, and we haven't even met the other two of them yet. And
Yeah.
I would be perfectly content with that arrangement. Not because RWBY's bad, but because the cast of characters is so good. Everybody needs that time to shine.
Yeah, I feel like RWBY hasn't
I
been given enough screen time. They're always dealing with other people's problems, I guess. And this season there's been a lot of good banter between the team, and I like that. I like that kind of establishment. Whether or not like a lot of time it's focused around drama, right? There's Weiss and there's RWBY, and they're like, and then like there's Weiss and Blake, and like I want to just see some normal interaction between all of them. The scene where they're playing the card game, like that board strategy game, that kind of like Risk
Yeah.
in the second season. I felt that was some really good dialogue and some establishment for RWBY.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
other than
feel
that, yeah.
I feel like even though everybody wants the secondary characters to get attention, I doubt they'll get attention because there's just so many characters.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That was
That's-
my
that's
concern
interesting.
with them adding
would
it.
say- I would say if you want, I would say create your own at the moment, like your own kind of stories for them. That's what I do when I.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The fan
There's
community for
definitely-
RWBY is like insane.
The fandom for RWBY is one of the most entertaining and active fandoms I've seen. I mean, they do a lot of legitimate stuff for a fandom that's really new too. RWBY just came out. It just got announced about 2 years ago. The first season only got released last year, and it's a very big
It's
fandom.
insane. I haven't seen anything like this. Well, it's because I'm not part of many fandoms. I only have Bionicle to compare it to, but
I will also say though, when it comes to voice acting, I have yet to really see a dubbed anime which I felt had really, really spot on voice actors for everybody too. I feel like that's kind of the thing that when you watch anime, you're just you're watching it for like kind of the animation and the plot and stuff, and the voices help, but there's not a lot of people I can really point to and be like, that is a very, very good voice actor. I feel like a lot of the male characters in anime especially have the same voice. They're like the main character seems to have the same voice for every single anime. I feel like they're very interchangeable. Might be because I haven't watched a plethora of them, and gotten used to.
I
how
don't watch many
interact.
animes. Pretty much the only one I can compare it to is One Piece.
Yeah,
LJ, you watch
I
anime.
haven't
How's voice acting in RWBY in comparison? LJ, you're like our
Uh,
anime expert.
That's odd.
It is very
but-
odd.
It really depends on who's doing the dubbing. Anything by Funimation is normally extraordinarily high quality and almost spot on in every instance. RWBY.
See, I would disagree with that. I've seen some stuff Funimation's done. They're not bad voices, but none of them really stand out to me. I feel like there's a lot of.
Well,
really
What have you
characters that
seen
stand
by
out to me better.
Funimation?
Yes, name 3 full anime that you have watched dubbed by Funimation.
Full.
I
all the
believe-
cards
let's see.
on the table. Full.
Let's see. I believe. No, I haven't watched every episode. To be fair, I believe
Well.
Attack on Titan is done by Funimation, which doesn't. They don't have bad voice actors.
I told you.
But-
I said almost every instance. Of course, they don't get everything spot on. Don't get me
Right.
wrong.
Yeah.
I've
But
seen a
in
bit of.
comparison, it's not necessary. The reason for it is because they're two completely different entities. On the one hand, Funimation they have a higher budget. They're a larger studio as far as doing one specific thing is concerned. Rooster Teeth is smaller. They have a lower budget for RWBY. They use in-house cast members.
Mhm.
2 issues with that is, one, they aren't quote unquote professional voice actors. Now, I find this very humorous considering Michael Jones very recently got cast
Yeah, he did get
for
cast for
Fairy
Fairy
Tale
Tail.
But
character
Michael's like
for
the best voice
Funimation.
actor in the whole thing, except
So there's that, but not a whole lot of them are quote unquote trained voice actors. I mean, they don't go out and think about that. They don't make that their primary objective.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the
They're
thing with me is
just
that I feel
so-
like that's true, but when it comes to like American-made cartoons, like Legend of Korra, or like stuff like Young Justice, that was really good until it got canceled about 2 years ago. They have voice actors. I feel like that are more spot on. I don't see a lot of overlap between voice actors, American trained voice actors, and actors that act in Funimation's anime a lot. Not too much. They seem to be like kind of separated.
Well, again, keep in mind, Kahi, you really haven't seen a lot of Funimation dubs, so.
I've seen a few. I've seen like Ghost in the Shell.
I literally just said you haven't seen a lot.
I've
I
seen
didn't say
a
you
few.
haven't seen any. I just said you haven't seen
Yeah,
a
I
lot.
know. I still I haven't seen, but I feel like I've seen enough to get the kind of the gist of
You
what it's
haven't.
saying.
You have no
There
bloody
are-
idea.
There are 6 people in RWBY, 6 people, who I would really say are great voice actors. That I would say they knock it out of the park.
All right.
These people are, let's see, Michael with Sun.
Michael
He's a
Jones.
shoo-in. Grey Haddock with Roman Torchwick.
Yes, Gray does great. I met him at RTX.
He does anime dubs, so
Okay.
that's why.
Shannon, I believe is his name.
Same here.
Yep, Shannon
Ozpin,
McCormick.
Yeah.
Right.
Also
H.
an
Washington.
Miles with Jean. Is
Miles
great,
Miles actually is pretty great.
great line delivery.
Yeah.
Who else? I think Lindsay with RWBY does pretty good.
I like Barbara with Yang.
She is
Barbara.
okay. Most of the time
That's
she
fine.
does good, and when she's bad, she's really bad. In the first
Yeah.
season. And then finally,
Yeah.
I do
think
remember what that one is since you're probably thinking of. Yeah.
Nora gets very few speaking lines, but I think when she does,
Oh, I forgot about her. Yeah. No, Nora's good. I honestly don't really like Penny's voice actor all too much. Penny, it does fit the character, and it's just, I don't know, something about that whole thing in particular.
Really quickly to finish answering your question,
okay.
RWBY voice acting in comparison to Funimation voice acting, I would say it's a little bit on a lower tier. It's not horrible. I mean, it's not like a fan dub or anything.
Oh, boy.
I mean, they do have a lot of really great voices, the ones you mentioned specifically. But again, it's lower budget production, in-house people. The other issue that I was going to get to is that these guys, you hear their voices, you're not thinking, oh, that's, Sun or RWBY. You're thinking, in most cases, not all, you're thinking, oh, that's Washington, or that's Tucker, or that's Miles or Carrie.
But you get that with like professional voice actors anyway. Like
I
you
sometimes
can hear people in like video
like
games.
Lloyd.
and-
I got that with
Sure.
who is it? Oh, who am I thinking of?
It varies a lot, at least.
A lot of Grey Leslie stuff. I feel like I see as her, or celebrity voices. Like in How I Trained Your Dragon. Who's that main character? He's
No
like
idea.
a really annoying voice.
No.
I've never
He's
seen
in,
that
He
movie.
was in This Is the End. I forgot his name. But I couldn't see, or like who is it? Seth Rogen in Kung Fu Panda
Mm-hmm.
as Mantis. I
Or
only heard
Jack
Seth Rogen.
Black in the same film.
Yeah, I guess Jack Black too. But I think Jack Black he's kind of a big dude, and
The
Mantis
the
also kind of a
thing
big dude. So
thing with that is, thing with voices, at least in dubs or animation, is that it is very easy in some certain areas to tell who is who. Like, Funimation has this habit of reusing a lot of their very well-known and well-versed voice actors. Todd Haberkorn, for an example, he voices a lot of very, very primary characters in a lot of different dubbed anime that they do.
Who does he voice in One
he is
Piece?
Huh? You remember that Resistance guy during the
okay, yeah.
Alabasta arc? Yeah, that's him. And he does additional voices as well. But, that's the thing. If you have a distinct voice, you're going to know who it is. It's just, A, does it fit the character? B, do you talk properly? Can you present your lines well? Can you voice it properly? And bring the character out well?
Yep.
It doesn't matter how you sound. It doesn't fit, so on and so forth. That's the thing
Right.
with RWBY. Do the voices fit? In a lot of instances, absolutely. RWBY is a really great voice. Yang, fitting, but granted, Yang is basically Barbara.
That is the
Shannon
thing. Yeah, a lot of
McCormick,
good
so on
voice
and so forth.
actors are actors who play characters very similar to themselves.
Yeah.
You know, Michael
Yeah,
is
that is
basically kind of
true.
Sun, and Barbara is best when she's playing Barbara as Yang. Like when Yang takes a lot of Barbara's personality with the puns or like that kind of thing,
Yeah.
being super energetic and stuff. Barbara's really good at that, and I think it's also something we encountered when voicing on air stuff, where when we voiced other characters, I had like Var voice the hobo, and then
Your
did the
top-notch performance as what's his face?
the Guardian. I actually called him Who Dat because I had no name for him. But so it's hard to do that. But whenever we're playing ourselves, whenever we're doing that, we did the table read. It's much much easier because we know how we're supposed to sound. We know what we're trying to say because we've done it before. And so writing off of us and then putting ourselves in that character, I feel is a lot easier as an actor.
LJ, if you're ever a voice actor for like an anime, you should make them create a character called Larry Jackson. You should voice him, and it would be just you. Mask
Jay
and
should play a
everything.
masked character.
Yes, mask and everything.
Lewis Johnson.
Yeah.
More.
No Larry Jackson. Nobody knows what his face is.
Yep.
He's like Todd in the Shadows. From
He's like
that guy
who's
with
he?
the glasses.
Code a face stealer. He just steals everybody else's face.
Yeah,
like
I'm wearing
goes
one
goes
of
to some kid born in 2002 who just steals his face.
Wow.
Hello.
Wow.
I am face.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Alright.
yeah, the voice acting, most of the characters' voices I think fit. There's really not a character in RWBY that I don't think has a good voice. It's just the line
Right,
delivery
it's just-
is very hit.
The dialogue, like I said before, I feel like the dialogue this season has been a lot more banter between
Oh,
the
yeah.
groups as opposed to like straight drama.
This season
There's
I have
too much-
very little complaint, but last season, the whole last 2 episodes with Blake and Weiss going at it,
Right,
I
right.
almost rage quit because it was so much talking from the 2 people that didn't really do the best.
Yeah, okay. I don't remember any lines from Blake or Weiss. They all sound the same.
Right, like the individual lines.
Weiss sounds like bratty and spoiled, and that fits a character. And Blake sounds quiet all the time, and it's just
Yeah.
you never remember anything.
Sometimes Blake
they
has the
say.
best line delivery out of everybody, and sometimes she literally has the worst. Like in
I think-
this last episode with the mech, some of the stuff she was saying, it was like, humanity thought we were monsters, so we donned the faces of monsters.
Yeah, I get that kind of. But she also has some of the greatest delivery for. What's that one line she does earlier on in the season?
Her whole monologue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weiss. My lines for Weiss I remember the most are combat skirt and all the reactions to Ice Queen.
Yep.
I feel like those are the fun comedic stuff is what I remember most out of these characters because they are the comedy when it's good, it's really good.
I'm not sure if they're like trying to just change Weiss's character or just try to retcon her, because last season it seemed like she had so many disingenuous character flips and apologies. It didn't really
Yeah,
make a lot of sense.
I think so. I think they started off with a character that's a brat, and they realized the character being a brat would just be to get old really quickly, and they're trying to add more stuff to the bratty aspect. Well, still trying to keep Weiss is still a bit of a brat sometimes, but
Not as bad.
they're trying to move her away to give her own character outside of being just a token brat. Oh, what a game of emotions we play. That line.
Yep.
A lot of the stuff from the second volume I really enjoy, and that's the strength of the second volume. I feel like everything is better. The
Exactly.
pacing's a lot better. The scenes are a lot better. The backgrounds are really good. The animation themselves much more smoother. Everything has just been completely improved.
Yeah.
Like the first season was kind of like a proof of concept, and it was a really cool proof of concept. It's kind of like something you show on a Kickstarter,
Mhm.
and you're like, "Wow, this is really great. I really want to see more of it." And Volume 2 feels like the finished product where they've got all the money from the support and they poured it into backgrounds and doing all that stuff. And now
I completely agree.
I'm watching an actual thing. I do want to point out something I've been thinking about recently. And it was brought up during the. I guess actually there used to be this comic called Homestuck that was really popular for a while, and then the author didn't update it because he's working on the end and stuff, and it's just still pretty popular. But the thing about Homestuck is that the creator used to update, in like a webcomic. So he would update every so often, every couple of days. And when some people would talk about, oh, the spacing in between the updates are kind of, slow or weak, he brought up an interesting point where he said, you guys, when you experience this delay in between episodes and in between updates in my comic, you are the only people in the history of mankind is going to experience that way. The people that experience that when it first came out, they're the only people that are going to experience that, because anyone that comes later, they're not going to have that wait. They're not going to wait a couple of days before moving to the next part. They're going to immediately go. So our experience watching the first season of RWBY, we are the only people that will ever experience RWBY the way we did.
Now, granted,
Waiting
that's quite a lot of people.
between the thing. Yeah, there's still quite a lot of people. It's a very popular show, so that's still. But like from now on, even if we wanted to experience it again, I doubt any of us are going to do the same thing where you watch one episode 1 week. We would probably watch several episodes at a time, if not the entire thing.
Completely true.
So I feel like it's important to critique the series in terms of like as a whole, as opposed to like the way we experienced it when it came out, simply because there's no point to talking about it the way it came out. That's only our experience. Nobody else. If anyone hears this and decides to go watch RWBY again, they're not going to get that same experience at all.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering, Monty's made it very clear, Volume 1 and Volume 2 are not like seasons.
They're one half of the same season.
They're one half of the same season. I feel like if you're watching this and you have the last episode of Volume 1 as like a mid-season, like you think of this as an entire season. The show immediately gets a lot better and the pacing makes a lot more sense.
Well, okay, yeah.
I want to watch it like at the end of the second volume. I want to watch everything from the beginning, Volume 1 all the way to the end of Volume 2, and kind of consider it as like a whole season and see what everybody's opinions of it are at the end of that.
That'd be pretty cool.
I think that would be pretty cool to do, and like I feel like it would give us a new perspective on how the series is paced. Because I was really surprised coming out of RTX of how much better the series was paced. Once you watch it as a whole, none of it felt as kind of drawn out as I thought it would.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's my thing on it.
I think that we're probably gonna wrap up, but before we do,
I didn't get to talk about fight scenes.
Before we do, I did want to ask a couple questions about like favorite characters and favorite weapons. So,
okay.
Kai, you can talk about fight scenes now and then segue into that.
No, I guess real quick, the thing of Monty Ohm is that he has a very signature choreography style. That's really important.
The backflips next to the camera.
Right, the backflips and like kind of the kind of reality of the fight. A lot of his fights are really just made to look cool. And as someone who enjoys a lot of martial arts stuff and a lot of really big, fast, choreographed scenes. Monty's style is something that you don't really see a lot in any other media, and I think that's what makes it so new. Like you have a lot of stuff that's a bit more grounded and realistic in some action movies, and you have stuff that's kind of like really over the top. Like think Transformers, kind of over the top. There's explosions going everywhere and all that stuff, and it's big but it's not necessarily all too quick. The thing about Monty's fight style is that it has a lot of speed to it. And a lot more speed than you would expect, and a lot more just like physics defying stuff you would expect. And I like that. I like just seeing a fight scene that's just there to have fun and to push the boundaries of what you can do and what you're expecting with all these, different flips and backflips and jumping up, falling debris that shouldn't be possible in real life. But it looks really cool, and you don't really see that anywhere else, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
The closest thing I've seen to RWBY's fight scenes is honestly that scene in Kung Fu Panda where what's his name, the tiger in the first one when he's escaping from that prison,
Oh, Tai Lung.
Tai Lung, yeah, that's a really good scene. That's one of my favorite scenes in just about.
It's fluid.
It's so fluid. It's very fast. It's very quick, and all of it you're just kind of standing in awe because it's easily the best one in that entire movie, or in the series of movies, I guess, since they have a second one and they're making a third one. But that's kind of what I want to say about fight scenes. I thoroughly enjoy all of Monty's work, and the fact that he has his own characters to do that, it's great.
Well, it's like, speaking of fight scenes, LJ and I were talking about the last episode last night, and he pointed out about Yang's semblance how crazy overpowered it is.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Team RWBY is basically god tier at this point.
Yeah. I'm assuming it's why they went to Beacon, but
Yeah, but it's like, why do they need to train? Why are they out of
that's
school?
something. I think that honestly they're gonna ditch the school part of it pretty quickly. I feel like they're leading up to the point where there's gonna be this war, and the school aspect is just gonna be gone.
That would be nice.
I'm thinking, I think the only way that her overpowered could change the story is if she turns evil.
That'd be interesting.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that might be interesting too. Changing up the dynamic a bit and do some stuff.
Unfortunately, I've got a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach that RWBY won't be the first team affected by a big major change, but it's going to be Juniper, and,
I know.
and Pyrrha's going to die. That's my bet.
That's gonna be
It's going to hurt.
so sad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the other characters. I feel like the other characters are really strong. I'm super attached to Neptune. He's only been in like what, 4 episodes basically?
He's
He
great.
Yeah.
has very little parts except for the latest one. I feel he had a bigger-ish part, but he's still a pretty small character. But I love the guy. He's one of my favorite characters at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like Baird with blue hair.
Right. And Sun was one of my favorite characters back when in season 1, even though he only had a couple episodes too.
Sun was the
feel like
standout.
Sun was like the ensemble dark horse of that series. Once he took out that bow staff, I was like 4 shotguns. That was just fantastic.
Yup.
Another thing that I'm retracing back there from season 2, and there was this part where you see the lady and the 2 thieves, and then they never went back on that.
Yeah, they'll get back to it.
It was like, what on earth? Like, where did they go?
Presumably,
They're just wandering around
They're
the
still
school.
there, yeah. And
I think they're still doing the whole thing of Roman and the White Fang, and that's all tied into it. So they're slowly getting it. But
I
get what you
presume
mean.
12
They're at-
episodes,
no
3
episodes.
4 episode story arcs, and we just wrapped up the first one, and then we'll move on to the next one. It'll
Right.
probably be the tournament, and then the finale.
Or the tournament could be the finale. There does seem to be in the title sequence. It seems to imply that a lot of people are going to start fighting, because they have that thing where all of the characters drop from the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like in battle poses, and stuff. But the tournament is still going to be something that's I'm going to love seeing because I love the fight scenes, and you can't have a
Already,
tournament
we've got
without
2
fights.
confirmed battles: Pyrrha versus Mercury and Pyrrha versus Cardin. So
Pierre versus Cardin is going to be a curb stomp battle. Cardin is going to just fall flat in his
no,
face.
and in the trailer, he was smashing Pyrrha around with the mace. So hey,
No, I guess I mean they're going to make it interesting. Neptune is going to be interesting to see too versus Pyrrha.
Pyrrha versus everyone.
Who's the most capable fighter? Who's the number one? Like not your favorite character. Who do you think is the best fighter out of? Who do you think could take everybody else down?
Yang, and then Pyrrha probably.
I would have to say Yang. And
Nora.
Nora.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Nora could legitimately take everybody down if she had to. But RWBY also has a lot of potential when she did the whole I don't know what to call that move, but she kind of spun into an
The
arrow.
Ruby Rocket.
The RWBY rocket rocket rose, rocket raccoon, something. I don't know.
It sucks because my 2 favorite characters from Team Juniper are Rin and John, and they're like the worst fighter.
Yeah, like, it's funny because Ren is actually pretty great. He took out that snake.
Yeah, but his
with
weapons
his bare
suck.
hand.
He just had
His
to,
weapons are kind of
he just had to resort to hand-to-hand combat because his weapons weren't doing anything.
He's awesome.
It's like using the incisor of Mass Effect 3 multiplayer.
Yep.
Sun Semblance is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it was really effective. 12 out of 10. Did a lot.
It didn't really do anything, but that was cool. Yang does seem kind of overpowered. I don't know how you would take her down. That's the thing. I don't know how you would ever defeat Yang. I feel like if she gets powerful of every hit you make, what's her weakness?
Bullets. But they can't show blood,
Connections
so nothing.
connections with people.
Well, like physically, I'd say bullets, but they can't show blood, so nobody's ever gonna get shot. Probably.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean they can't show blood. They did show blood in the Weiss trailer. They just don't want it to be super
Sure.
bloody. I guess I should have made that clear. They don't want it to be like a blood.
Someone gets shot and roses come out.
Well, well, in Saints Row 2 when they kill Johnny's girlfriend instead of like.
Whoa,
showing-
spoilers! Spoilers! Jeez, Viper. Whoa.
It's an old game.
It's like
It's like Shannon
5
all
years
over
old.
again.
It's
Spoiling
like
Game of
5
Thrones in the
years
middle of a
old.
panel? Oh boy.
It's like 5 years old. Anyways, when the guy slits her throat, he slits the
snitch.
roses and they all like fall down. That's how they could probably do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's time we end with favorite characters and favorite weapons.
Okay.
So we're gonna go in this order: me, LJ, Kahi, Viper.
Can we do multiple characters?
Yes, it's fine.
Like top 5? All right.
My
Yeah.
favorite characters from Team RWBY. My favorites are probably a toss-up between Ruby and Weiss, because Ruby is just all around great, and Weiss's character is a bit but I think she has the most potential for anybody out of actual character development, except maybe Blake, but they've already touched upon that. Plus her fighting style is just great. With Juniper, I already said Rin and John. They need more screen time. Rin's never gonna get it. John will. And with Sun's team, well, we've only met 2 of them, so there you go.
I can't even remember them.
Sun and Neptune.
Son of Neptune. We've been talking
Oh.
about it this entire
We only have
time.
2 so far.
Viper, keep up. Not okay.
So,
You're doing
and then my favorite weapon, that's a tough one.
Ooh.
My favorite one, I would probably go with the obligatory Crescent Rose. Most
Okay.
effective one, hands down, Nora's. Whatever the heck.
Which one would you want to have?
Which one would I want
Now you're
to have?
Like, which one would you want to have? Like, or do you feel like you could wield the most?
Gamble Shroud. Blake's.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I can
Oh man, totally want Jean's weapons.
Yeah.
That transforming shield is like the best weapon out of the entire show.
But
Doesn't
that
it weigh
didn't
the
wait to
same?
say what I was about to say.
Yes.
No, but seriously, I would be fine with just a sword and shield.
Yeah. I bet John's weapons are going to have some kind of cool.
Some cool thing.
But no, LJ, what are your
I
favorites?
think John's weapon is his mind. That's what I'm really hoping for. I want to see him like, if it get to the point where he's super strategic. I was hoping he would beat everybody in that game they were playing, and he didn't. They didn't let him play. So
Yeah, but I think that may have been a hint. Anyway, LJ, what are your favorite characters?
Jean, right off the bat.
Yeah.
Let's see, Jean. Pyrrha is kind of cool. Ren is an interesting individual. Nora grinds my nerves. Ozpin is enjoyable. I can't stand Blake and what's her name?
I think Nora just
Weiss.
reminds LJ of his ex-girlfriend too much.
I'll hurt you.
Or I get maybe Blake. I guess Blake really does, because fonts.
Anyway. So, Ruby is enjoyable and funny, and what's her name? Yang is also fun.
So
to see.
everybody from RWBY. Yeah.
No. Half from Ruby, and half from what's the team called? Juniper.
You made a chart a while back. Like all of us corresponding to Ruby characters. It was very fun.
Oh, so I get on your nerves, LJ.
Is it- wait, what now?
Oh.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, you were Nora.
I was
huh?
Nora. Thanks.
No, it's okay, Viper. You don't grind on my nerves. Your representation does.
No, I feel like you're more like Blake than Nora. You're not like this a super hyperactive person like Nora is. Who's Blake?
Get the chart.
Blake's the good.
Blake was Alina.
It was the
Oh
fun.
no, that's poor. Luna's honestly more like Nora.
I think LJ was Jean. I forget who Pyrrha was. Maybe Potu. And then I was Rin.
Pyrrha was Potu, I think.
No, that fits. That's actually really good.
And I was Rin.
You're a run. That fits too.
So, alright.
You see, the reason I see Meso was an immediate Ren, and I kind of made Viper Nora just because of the interaction.
Wow. So
Like
why
your
didn't you
son.
make?
I'm not even making a joke.
Why didn't you make
That's
Luna Pyrrha?
serious.
That feels very accurate.
Is it Miles like dating Aaron? IRL?
Oh, that is true. You're right. Yeah, Miles is dating Aaron. No, that fits. You're right. Never mind. And she's also like this half cat, half human, which is Alina's own. When didn't she like? Was she literally a furry when she appeared in your comic? Was she like this
So,
cat
so
lady?
anyway, Kai, what?
Okay, you know what? Hold the show. Okay, I posted this, so you have to put this on screen.
I will do it.
All right, so we got Mock as Viper. Whoops. Mock as Ruby. Nira as Weiss. Alina as Blake, and another former host, Mirka, as Yang. That's Team Ruby or Manam.
Team Manam.
Team Manam.
And then we have me as John, Viper as Nora, Potu as Pyrrha, and Meso as Ren or Evpim. And then we got Venom, Invivar, and Keeney on the team of individuals.
I love how
aka
none of these have even personalities outside of carton.
Yeah.
You just put in people just for filler. You didn't assign them to anybody because of their personality or how they act.
Team Vivek.
Vivek, but Vivek does sound like a cool name.
Yeah.
Now, and then MT as
Sober Mindy.
Busy PC reference.
What? Sober Mindy? What the? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I would actually put. I'd have Nira as Ruby. Because she's a lot younger and she's a lot more like Ruby.
What?
Mirka is actually going to be
Actually,
more like Weiss.
I
Viper is Blake.
Part of me would do that.
And-
The other part of me doesn't want to give Viper such a prominent. Sorry, Nira such a prominent role. Viper, I'm so terribly sorry.
Weiss is pretty prominent. I'd say she's the second most prominent character.
Yeah, but the personality fits.
One
Arrogant,
day the chart.
rude.
Nira is more. Honestly, Mirka is more of a Weiss than Nira.
I don't know about
Yeah,
this. I don't know.
Okay,
But
all right.
one day the chart will be remade with all
I-
the Suns team and Velvet and the new teachers and everything.
Yeah, I think Var.
I'll start redoing
this.
I'll start redoing it.
Var fits Sun a lot. I feel Var is like a very accurate representation of Sun, except Sun is like an Argon, and Var is not an Argon. So.
See, I was thinking that Var was a lot like Neptune.
Okay, yeah.
That's also true. But I need to be
Part-
somebody. I need to be somebody. I
You
like
could be
Neptune.
Sun. You guys have a lot in common. You're monkey. You're both like monkeys. You both have big ears and big noses, and you both have the inability to speak like a monkey.
There's always
You're
Velvet's
dating a
team.
furry. It does fit.
There's always Velvet's team. God, he could be somebody
The
from
bunny,
there.
the bunny ears.
Yeah, Kai, he could be Velvet.
Kai, he can be Yatsuhashi. Or whatever.
Who?
The big guy with like the
Oh,
spear.
that's actually kind of like a Ben character, I feel. All right, well, let's get back on the favorite
Okay, yeah.
characters.
Kai, what's your favorite characters?
Right, my favorite characters so far are Neptune. Neptune, I feel, is one of my favorite characters so far. Sun, I actually really like Ren. I really like Nora. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Yang. I got the Yang plushie actually at RTX, which apparently nobody that actually works on RWBY got. They were all sold out after RTX, so nobody wanted one and got one. John, I feel, is pretty great. I'm waiting for the character development where he comes back as really intelligent. I've said before, I like those characters who are kind of like, don't really know, they're not as capable, or they kind of need to learn something, but then you keep pushing them in the corner and they come back with like,
It'll
all this
happen after Pyrrha die.
I'm fully expecting it. It happened with like Walter White. It's happening with Arya Stark.
Thanks.
It's happening with Clementine from the Walking Dead video game. But Walter White eventually becomes super Heisenberg-y, right? That's going to be
No. I think you just spoiled it, but it doesn't matter because I
I was
probably.
talking about season 3, the ending, which that is an actual.
I thought you were suggesting that Walter he might push daisies.
No.
No. Whenever Walter gets pushed into a corner, he just pushes back and he becomes like, he dons that Heisenberg mask and he's like, I am, or the Heisenberg hat, and he's like, I'm intelligent, I'm coming back. You can't do anything to stop me. I'm waiting for John.
What's your
This
favorite
thing
weapon?
Oh my, okay. Sun's weapon is so great. I love it. It's the shotguns, it's a bow staff and it's like nunchucks and it's a shotgun all in one. Other than that, I actually like Weiss's weapon a lot too.
Yeah.
And Yang's is also very convenient. Adam's actually, I really like Adam's weapon.
Will Adam ever come back?
I'm pretty sure he's gonna come back pretty soon. But his weapon, if you guys didn't see it before, it's a shotgun and a sword at the same time, but the shotgun shoots out the blade. So like the blade is like the bullet, and then he catches it in midair after it's been shot, and turns into a sword. It's actually kind of cool.
The shotgun is the sheath.
The coffee cup. I'm waiting for that. Coffee cup might be
Viper.
my favorite weapon, to be honest.
Who are your favorite characters?
I like RWBY, Yang. I like Pyrrha, Sun. You like Neptune as well, and Penny.
Yeah. Favorite weapon?
And probably my favorite weapon is either Ruby's or Penny's.
The moment you were watching the yellow trailer, I remember I was there. You were like, "I want those."
Oh, the
Yeah.
gauntlets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like the gauntlets as well, but I feel like everybody uses them.
quite true.
Yeah.
If I had a weapon, it'd maybe Blake's or maybe Adam's. Adam's seems very nifty.
Right.
But, okay, that probably ends this nice
Okay.
cumulative series-wide recap and discussion, review, critique,
Exactly.
etc. We may be doing more of these. We will definitely be talking about it in the future. I'm just not sure if we'll do them weekly. Because who knows what could happen. Like, oh, we're planning to release it one day. Suddenly, earth-shattering bombshell, and it kind of gets upstaged. But
Right.
we'll release these when we have nothing else going on, at least.
Right.
Even if they don't always come out on Thursday or Friday. When it's current, we'll release them. We have plenty of dead time. So, we hope you enjoyed a nice break from the norm discussion. Go check out RWBY. You may enjoy it. Yeah. Thank you all very much for listening, and we will hopefully talk about this more in the future. It is very fantastic. Any closing comments?
I love the show. Hopefully, it's continues more.
Okay.
I'm seriously looking forward to everything the show has to offer. Let's do
I
it.
got a request for the fans,
Okay.
or those who listened, or whoever. Make a chart. Who do you think in TTV would best fit which character in RWBY?
That's a good idea.
That is a great idea.
That's
That is a
great
terrible
idea.
idea.
Viper.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, let's make a rule. If you make these charts, that's cool. You can't put yourself in the chart. I mean, you can do like a community thing if you guys want, but like the whole shipping thing has already kind of gone out really weirdly as is. So
Mm-hmm.
adding yourself to the chart as a kind of fan fiction, probably not the best idea.
but yeah.
But I am super interested in seeing
Make
what
a
you guys
chart
think.
who you think from TTV fits what characters best.
Right.
So, that is actually a good place to leave it. Thank you, LJ. That is much appreciated. That idea.
You're darn welcome.
So, thank you all very much for listening, and we will see you all next time. I'm Messner.
I'm LJ.
I'm Kahi.
I'm Viper.
And goodbye!